Yeah, hello and welcome back to Kinda Neat. I don't know exactly how to tell you guys this, but this last week I did the unthinkable, the unforgivable, the unfossiliferous. I took a week off watching anime. But wait, before you click off this video, unsubscribe and bully me in the comments, hear me out. It was for a good cause. I wanted to find out what 3D live-action Japanese movies had in common with anime, and if I'd get the same kind of enjoyment out of watching them just because I'm a fan of anime. A fanime, if you will. Over the past couple years, I've come to love several Japanese authors and have found great joy in watching Japanese TV, but for some reason I never gave Japanese cinema a fair chance. So after powering through some severe withdrawal symptoms, I pushed anime off to the side and dusted off the old DVD player. Only 90s kids on. Not now. Sorry about that. Over the past week I've watched 4.5 Japanese films, so I'm pretty much an expert at this point, and you can consider this video my doctoral dissertation. I was a little nervous at first, so to dip my toe in the water, I did the obvious thing and found myself a slice of life high school romance to watch. Wolf Girl and Black Prince. From there I went to the opposite end of the spectrum and watched a sci-fi thriller about a 9th grade class forced to fight to the death, Tower of God style, called Battle Royale. Then I met in the middle, watched a couple dramas, Nobody Knows and Still Walking, before finishing off with that 0.5 I mentioned before, a rom-com about a high school upskirt photographer. But more on that to come. Let's start with Wolf Girl and Black Prince. This movie was based on a manga of the same name, but to be fair, you'd be pretty hard pressed to find any romance movies not based on a manga, so I gave it a watch anyways. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. The story follows Erika Shinohara, who lies to all her friends about having a super kakoi boyfriend named Kyoya Sata. When Kyoya finds out about the deception, he agrees to pretend to be Erika's boyfriend in exchange for her becoming his dog, who will do absolutely whatever he tells her to. Not only did it have similar set pieces to anime, like cafes, aquariums, karaoke, and melon pan, but it also had a similar energy. The actors did a great job at translating over-the-top anime reactions into the real world without being too cheesy. And at no point did the movie hold back from being, well, weird. The situations all felt very familiar, like the classic, oops, I forgot my umbrella. Here, let's share. Shit, I got one drop of water on me. Now I'm dead. Or the nosy older sister who always takes things too far. Or even the nerdy class rep who turns out to be super hot after he takes his glasses off. Some things, on the other hand, don't translate super well. Like, a lot of the physical comedy came off as kinda weird. And seemingly due to budget limitations, the movie doesn't exactly portray Tokyo in the romanticized way that anime does, so there aren't many beautiful wides of the city or sakura petals floating through the air. But I actually really got a kick out of the way the city streets were shown. It made a lot of really good memories come rushing back, and now I'm a little depressed because I can't go back to Japan until the world goes back to normal. Overall, I actually really enjoyed watching this movie. I had been so caught up in anime that I kind of forgot what real people look like. But that being said, despite having a similar look, feel, and sound to anime, it didn't really bring anything new to the table and lacked that whimsical editing style that I've come to know and love. So I don't think I'd ever choose to watch a live-action rom-com over an animated one. When I found out there was a Japanese film about a 9th grade class abandoned on a deserted island and forced to fight to the death, I knew I was in for a treat. Based on the 1999 book of the same name, Battle Royale is a campy thriller film that does not hold back in its brutality. The plot bears a striking, and I mean striking, resemblance to that of The Hunger Games, which was not published until 8 years later. Suspicious? Absolutely. Anything to say about that, Suzanne?
I'm Suzanne Collins. The books and authors that inspired me when I was young still inspire me today. I lived overseas.
Unsurprisingly, I absolutely loved this film. It takes itself pretty seriously, but has a hilariously written antagonist that provides a nice layer of humor. But I'm not here to enjoy myself. This is scientific research. So, was watching Battle Royale anything like watching anime? Well, yes and no. The characters were all very familiar anime archetypes, from the brooding exchange student who's too cool for school, to the peaceful protag whose hair hangs down over his eyes. There's the over-the-top bullies, and even the dweeb who only cares about studying for exams. And as expected, all the costumes, from school uniforms, to tracksuits, to streetwear, are all things you'd see in anime. Because like I've talked about before, anime costumes are more or less a reflection of Japanese fashion in real life. But to be honest, that's about all they have in common. The fight scenes are choreographed in a way unique to live action, and the pacing and tone are different from any anime I've ever seen. Aside from a few over-the-top flashbacks, my only real issue with this film was just how many characters they expect you to keep track of and get invested in, which I find most anime do a much better job of balancing. Overall, this was pretty much the inverse of Wolf Girl and Black Prince. It didn't have too many similarities to anime, but it did bring a whole lot of great things to the table that are unique to live action. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Battle Royale was definitely worth taking time off anime to watch. I'm just gonna lump the two dramas I watched together because they were very similar in vibe and pacing. They even share an actress, you. Not you, with no last name, just you. You, who you might recognize from Terrace House. Nobody Knows follows a group of children who were abandoned in a Tokyo apartment and must learn to fend for themselves. While Still Walking gives an intimate look into a family who only comes together once a year to commemorate the premature death of the eldest son. I really racked my brain trying to think of a similar anime to these films, and by that I mean I scrolled through AniList, but I came out empty-handed. The closest thing I could find is Violet Evergarden, but even that is a pretty big stretch. And that is because these films are so grounded in reality. Both are social critiques showing the darker side of Japanese culture, and neither put any effort into romanticizing modern life in Japan, which is pretty much all anime is designed to do. So aside from a few recognizable locations, these movies are pretty much as far from anime as the Cleveland Show. Alright, if anyone's actually still watching at this point, it must just be because you want to hear about that 0.5 voyeuristic photography movie I mentioned before. This is actually the first movie I came across while researching for this video, and when I saw that there was a Japanese rom-com with 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, I couldn't help but give it a watch. Love Exposure is a 2008 film about a teenage boy, also named Yu, Yu falls in love with a girl he runs into while working as an upskirt photographer. What stands out about this film is that it has a runtime just shy of 4 hours. That should have been my first hint, but after reading some glowing reviews, I pushed on into the unknown. And what did I find, you might ask? A movie that's actually very similar to anime. After a very slow 30-minute exposition, the writing and acting takes a sharp left turn into Camp Goofy. The editing and camera work do not hold back on trying to make you laugh, and the ecchi nature of the humor reminded me of shows like Grand Blue Dreaming and Hagane. So why does this only count as a 0.5? 0.5, you might ask? It's because I turned it off halfway through. I can understand why this movie has the reviews it does, and I appreciate what it was trying to do, but what it was trying to do just wasn't for me. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get invested in the characters, let alone find the jokes funny. So although it was very similar to anime, as far as comedies go, I'm sticking with 2D.
後日談というか今回のオチ
So after a week of immersing myself into the gritty embrace of Japanese cinema, has my stance on 2D versus 3D at all changed? Unfortunately, not really. Most of the movies I watched were pretty amazing and definitely worthwhile over most Hollywood movies, but I didn't find the same magic I feel when reading Japanese literature or, better yet, watching Chinese cartoons. If you think that I'm wrong, comment baka and try the experiment for yourself. I recommend starting with Battle Royale, which I think was the only one that was worth taking time away from anime to watch. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I've got many more like it, and I especially recommend this one. It's probably my favorite, and totally not something that YouTube's algorithmically recommending to you based on your watch history.